Alright, now that I'm done with ranking every new video game I played in 2025, it's time to do the same thing, but with the movies I watched instead. Though, before we get into that, I want to tell you guys something about myself I don't think many people know. So, when I was a kid, I was someone who actually didn't like most live-action media. Usually, whenever it was playing on TV, I would often just turn away from it or not be interested in whatever was playing. The main reason I felt this way, and I don't know if other people went through this when they were young, is because whenever I walked past a TV that was playing something not meant for kids at all, whether it was completely violent, horrifying, disgusting, or just flat out disturbing, it would completely frighten me in more ways than one. And I feel like it's because of these fright-inducing moments I saw on TV that caused me to detest live-action media in general. Now, if I saw those aforementioned themes on TV and they were animated instead of live action, I would have less of a problem with it. Yeah, it would still be grotesque or disturbing for my young self, but because it would be animated and not use real-life people or imagery, I would have the thought of, none of this is real, and would be less traumatized by it. It's one of the main reasons I prefer animated media instead of live action. Luckily, as I've gotten older, I became less triggered when watching mature live-action media that would not be fitting for younger audiences at all. I still tend to get at least a little bit triggered when watching something filled with horror, gore, or anything else, but nowhere near to when I was in elementary school. And hey, if there's a live-action movie or TV show that's completely family-friendly, or doesn't have any of the mature themes I said, then there shouldn't be a problem with me watching it at all. Overall, I don't know if the scenario I just described is one really huge me problem, or if this is something everyone goes through when they're young and they get over it a lot quicker than I did. Still, I thought I should still tell you guys to not only reveal something interesting about myself, but also how I've changed throughout my life, and I really want to keep expanding my horizons with all kinds of media, and other ways to enjoy life too. Anyways, now that that little backstory of mine is finished, let's get into the main topic. In this video, I will be ranking the 16 new movies I watched this year ranked worst to best. Just like my video game ranking, all of the movies I watched were released around different times. Some of them released this year, while others have been around for nearly or more than 2 decades, so this list will be completely random for everyone watching. I'm no expert in reviewing movies, and this is my first time talking about them in a YouTube video, but I will of course try my best. The factors I'll be taking into account are plot and pacing, characters, the movie's theming, and more. Whether the movie is animated or live-acted will also have exclusive factors. The former will have art style and graphic design, and the latter will have acting and cinematography. Oh, in case you're curious, I watched 10 animated movies and 6 live-action ones this year. Also, if I make any mistakes or forget important details with one of the movies I talk about, let me know and I'll correct it in the comments. Just like my game ranking, I'll be putting all these movies on a tier list to see how they stack against each other. And keep in mind I'm ranking these movies based on first impressions, so there's a chance that when I do rewatch these movies, my opinions on them may change over time, and so may the order they're ranked. The last thing I want to say is I'm gonna try and make this video shorter than my previous 2 commentary videos. I am still surprised both of those videos are over an hour long when I was expecting them to be a lot shorter. So I'm going to make it my main goal to keep all future commentary videos as short as possible, but also be informative and entertaining enough. Obviously though, I have no idea how long this video will be, and you guys already know the length of it, so as I'm working on the video, I'll be keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that it'll be short. With that said, if you guys enjoy the video, or any of the movies I talk about, please consider subscribing to the channel. We've been increasing our subscriber count for the past year, and I really want to keep it going this year. I promise with your support, I'll work harder than ever to work on several commentary videos in the future, as well as find ways to greatly improve the quality so they look and sound much better. If not, I'd still appreciate a like and a comment. Anyways, without further ado, here is every new movie I watched in 2025 ranked worst to best. Alright, let's get this bottom spot over with as quickly as possible. I did not like the live-action Kim Possible movie. I knew I wasn't going to like it when I first heard of it, and lo and behold, easy last place. Even though this came out years before we've gotten the variety of Disney live-action remakes based on classic films recently, it still follows the same issues everyone complains about. And trust me, my mom forced me to see the live-action Little Mermaid movie in theaters without having seen the original, so I know what I'm talking about. Anyways, on my phone, I made a list of problems I had with the movie, something I didn't do with all the other movies on this list, so I'm just gonna quickly go through them, which should give you my overall thoughts. For starters, Draken wasn't blue enough. Maybe it was the lighting, but I couldn't really tell if his skin was blue or not. Kim has this sudden huge fear of eels, which I'm pretty sure was never a thing in the TV show. Heck, I'm pretty sure there's an episode where she is stuck in an eel tank and shows no fear. Kim's mother and grandmother don't do any crime fighting in the show, yet in the movie they are somehow naturals. Principal Barkin was just plain unlikable here, at least in the show he was somewhat charming. Yeah, there's more I could say, but I think you get the point. On top of all this, the story is so unoriginal. Of all the creative plotlines they could have come up with for this iconic 2000s Disney Channel show, they do a dumb jealousy plotline. Basically, there's this new girl named Athena who is way better than Kim and the whole school loves her. And then they do this twist where Athena is a robot and one of the villains alongside Draken and Shigo, but it just came off as lazy shock value, and they even redeem Athena in the end like she's a saint all of a sudden. I guess they also portrayed the hardships of high school, specifically being a senior, but there's at least a dozen different movies I could watch instead that are like that. Heck, I'll be talking about 3 of them later in this video. Still, this movie and the original series are 2 completely different forms of media. I don't know if it's common for live-action adaptations based on animated movies or shows to be good, but between this movie and other Disney live-action remakes, I think Disney should just avoid making them altogether. Overall, there's more I could say, but it'd just be common, repetitive complaints anyone would have over most live-action remakes. I guess if I had to say at least one somewhat positive thing, it'd be that I would rather rewatch this movie since it's only an hour and a half, as opposed to any modern Disney live-action remake which are nearly or more than 2 hours. Plus, to be fair, I kinda wanted to watch at least one bad movie on purpose, just so I would have a justifiable spot to rank last place for this video, so at least watching this movie had some purpose. Really though, it's not worth watching this film. Even if you're a huge Kim Possible fan or have yet to become one, this movie does not do any justice to the franchise and is better off being forgotten about. The only way I can recommend watching it is if you're actually craving a bad movie, but that's it. I've seen this movie once and have absolutely no reason or plans to ever watch it again. Luckily, it was the only bad movie I watched on the F tier this year. Now we're skipping the D tier and moving on to the C tier, which also only has 1 film. So let's find out which movie I watched this year was just fine. I don't know why, but seeing that first teaser trailer got me so hyped for Moana 2. In retrospect though, this was a very underwhelming sequel compared to the first film. For those who don't know, this movie was originally going to be a TV series, and that sounded like a really cool idea to me. But that series was cancelled into this movie, and boy was it rushed. Just by watching the film, you can tell it was originally meant to be a TV series due to the rather quick pacing. It doesn't feel like we spent enough time for each scene since they pretty much crammed all of the episodes into the movie. The whole adventure is a lot quicker than the first movie, and we just aren't with these characters long enough. Speaking of the characters, they're fine for the most part. Both Moana and Maui are the same like they were in the first movie, but they don't go through any personal struggle this time around, so I feel less invested in them. The new characters on Moana's crew are fine, but their introductions are so quick and they don't have any memorable moments to make them stand out, which is a shame because I know I would have really liked them if they were written properly. Moni has a fun sibling dynamic with Moana which I liked. Kale would have been more fun if not for his grumpy stereotype, and I know I would have loved Loto if she was given more depth. I mean, I do still like her, but there isn't really much to her character apart from her personality and incredible sail building skills. Besides them, all the other characters, both old and new, are good, but not really memorable in any way. As for Matangi, remember when people who were working for the movie at Disney said she was a unique type of villain, even though that was not the case at all? Yeah, that should be enough to say about her. As for the songs, most people say they're just weaker versions of the songs from the first movie, and yeah, I agree. Even without making that comparison, they just don't feel that engaging to listen to. It's still good, but I feel like listening to it once and moving on to another song instead of replaying it at least one time. I heard online that modern Disney songwriters are trying to copy Lin-Manuel Miranda's style of songwriting by making the characters speak real fast and writing catchy lyrics, but it's clearly not working since we haven't really had a good Disney musical since Encanto. Also, as a Splatoon fan, I find it kind of funny how this movie came out during the same year when Off the Hook released their new song, We're So Back, which is practically the name of the first song in Moana 2, just without the so. If I had a nickel for every time a fictional franchise with the theme of aquatics released a song in 2024 with the words where and back in the title, I'd have 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Besides that, the story isn't all that engaging due to the quick pacing, there weren't many jokes that got me laughing, and overall, this film is just completely weaker than the first movie in every aspect. It's still somewhat enjoyable, and the animation obviously looks amazing, but with how memorable the first film was, you'd think this movie would be at least quite good. But alas, Disney really should have stuck with the plan of a TV show, and instead we got what many fans are calling a direct-to-DVD sequel sent to theaters. Glad I saw this on Disney+. As for the post-credit scene, hopefully if Moana 3 ever gets announced, it will be on par with the first movie or at least better than the second one. Oh, and speaking of which, the fact Tamatoa got to appear after an 8-year absence was worth it and made Shea Frillis and all his fans, myself included, very happy, so that's a plus. With that said, now we're on to the B tiers. For the movies I thought were pretty good, and some of them are musicals which I thought had way better songs. Okay, I know I just said we're on the B tier, but this next movie is like on the very bottom of it. I feel like it's directly in the center between C tier and B tier. What movie is it, you may be wondering? It is Pixar's latest film as of now, Elio. A lot of people forgot this movie was even coming out, but considering how poorly Disney and Pixar promoted it, it makes total sense. Plus, it's insane how the first teaser trailer was released in 2023, and the initial release date was the first day of March 2024, yet somehow the movie didn't come out until June 2025. I have no idea what that was all about, but it definitely contributed to the movie's poor marketing and why I watched the film on Disney+. As for the movie itself, I'm gonna be totally honest, I genuinely did not feel anything when watching this film. The whole time, my face was just watching the screen with a blank expression, not once reacting in some way to what was happening. I don't know if it had something to do with how I had low expectations going into the film based on reviews, or the extremely poor advertising on Disney's part, but yeah, I just felt bored the entire time. That's not to say the movie doesn't do anything good though. For starters, Glordon is easily the best character. I love how obliviously optimistic he always acts, and the movie is always at least a little bit charming whenever he's on screen. Though it definitely takes too long for him and Elio to meet. Like, I paused the movie when Glordon was introduced and already half an hour passed. Plus, it doesn't even feel like he's there during the final moments of the film, so he definitely needed more screen time. Still, he's definitely the highlight of the movie, and I love his interactions with Elio. Speaking of the titular protagonist, he's fine. Unlike recent kid protagonists in Pixar movies like Luca or May, Elio just doesn't say or do anything that makes him unique or memorable, apart from his obvious obsession with aliens. The same can be said for basically every character, even the main villain, Lord Grygon, who at least isn't a bad antagonist. Overall, Elio isn't a bad movie, but it doesn't do anything that makes it at least a little worthwhile movie. Honestly, while I think it's better than Moana 2 critically, I think I'd rather rewatch the latter movie because I know I can get more entertainment out of it due to the decent musical numbers and slightly more engaging characters. I just feel completely uninvested when watching Elio, and it's kind of hard to explain why. Besides Glordon being the best character, as well as the cool unique designs of the aliens, the only thing I can praise Elio for is its cool animation. But when the animation is the only thing you can praise a movie for, then that's probably a sign the movie is not that good. Still, it was somewhat charming, but I don't feel the need to watch it again for at least a couple of years. Even though we're still in the B tier, I've decided to put these next two movies back to back on the ranking in their own section that I call the unambiguous TV show movie tier. The reason I call it that is because they're both movies based on TV shows, so I figured it would make sense to rank them right next to each other. Those two films are a Loud House Christmas movie, Naughty or Nice, and the Kim Possible movie, So the Drama. Starting with the Loud House, man, I wish I could talk about this movie in full due to the show being my personal favorite animated series of all time. Anyways, to be honest, I was actually more anxious than excited going into this movie. The reason I was feeling this way was because one of the original synopses for the movie said that Lincoln was going to capture an elf and end up on the naughty list. And the last time Lincoln committed an act of kidnapping, ooh boy, it did not end well. Luckily, this movie is nowhere near the level on Kings of the Con. Getting my positives out of the way, the movie looks absolutely stunning. No joke, I don't think the Loud House has ever looked this good. The soundtrack and action scenes were cool, and I like how this movie actually has multiple recurring characters from the main series, and takes some place in Royal Woods. And despite using fantasy elements, I think this movie has a really good portrayal of Santa and the North Pole, at least compared to what I remember from other shows. This movie definitely has its pros, but unfortunately, it's without its flaws, most of which revolve around the story. There's just a lot of issues I and many fans have with it, and I think they can all be tied together with the film's main issue of how it portrays Lincoln. Now, as I say in my hour-long No Such Luck video, Lincoln is not a perfect kid, and even he is bound to do some things that could be considered naughty. I think the premise of the movie is possible, but it's how it's executed is the problem. Basically, throughout the film, Lincoln is considered a flipper, which means he is right in between being nice or naughty, which I'm sure a lot of kids can relate to. Again, this premise can work, but the way the film handles it leaves a lot of unanswered and unknown questions. Like, if Lincoln's a flipper, then why are the characters only focusing on his bad deeds and don't mention a single one of the good deeds he's presumably done throughout the year? And why is it just Lincoln who has this problem and not some random other character in the world? There's just a bunch of these issues that all come together, and it's what makes the movie a bit uncomfortable and annoying to watch. I would go in depth on these issues, but it would take a while to explain and is better for its own video that I'll probably make someday in the future. I recommend you check out Steam Team WK's review on the film, as he greatly captures how I, and I'm sure many others, feel about the movie's story. Overall, despite the flaws, I still enjoyed watching a Loud House Christmas movie, Naughty or Nice. Compared to the other animated movies, I think I slightly prefer it over the first movie, but it's nothing compared to the Casagrandes movie and especially No Time to Spy. I just hope if we do get another movie in the future, which might have already been announced if this source is actually legit, it will be an improvement over this one. As for the Kim Possible movie, So the Drama, this is definitely a way better TV movie. I don't remember too many major moments throughout the film, but what I do remember definitely made this one of the absolute best parts of the series. Between Draken's ultimate scheme, to the epic battle between Shiko and Kim in her new battlesuit, culminating in Kim and Ron finally getting together, it was just awesome to watch. The only real criticism I can think of with this TV movie is that I wasn't as entertained as I would have liked, but considering this came out in 2005, a year before I was born, I shouldn't be too surprised. I only just watched Kim Possible this year, and I will be talking about it more in my TV show ranking, so I'll just say this TV movie was better than a Loud House Christmas movie, Naughty or Nice, and is the one true Kim Possible movie. As a whole, I really didn't know where to rank these TV movies compared to the other actual films on this list, so I think around the B tier was most fitting. Plus, I definitely got more enjoyment and general entertainment over these TV movies than the bottom 3 movies, so there's that. Not much else to say, so let's get back to some actual movies. Do you guys know at least one piece of media you feel isn't your type of thing to watch, yet a part of you finds it to be a bit charming and you often find yourself going back to it? Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me would have to be Disney Channel's Zombies movies. Hence why I was admittedly excited in checking out Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires. Unlike Descendants: The Rise of Red, which didn't bring back any of the 4 original main cast members from the first 3 movies, rest in peace Cameron Boyce, you Disney Channel icon, Zombies 4 was actually bringing back talented main leads Milo Manheim and Meg Donnelly, which already got my attention. Speaking of the former, I was watching part of the season finale of Dancing with the Stars with my sister in December, and out of nowhere I saw Milo in the background audience, which was fun to point out. As for the movie itself, it was definitely better than the previous 2 films that came before. Zombies 2 had a couple of plot issues that I wasn't a fan of, and Zombies 3 had way too much going on and is my least favorite of the quadrilogy. Luckily, the 4th movie is on par with the first one. I'd have to rewatch the first Zombies movie to feel which I think is better, but for now, these 2 movies are on the same level of quality in my opinion. For things I didn't like, the only thing that stuck out to me was when the Daywalkers and vampires come face to face and Zed and Addison reunite. Out of nowhere, Eliza and Willa appear on screen even though we haven't seen them for at least 5 whole minutes. The first time I watched the movie I was like, whoa, where did they come from? Speaking of Eliza, it is nice to have her back in person after being reduced to a side role in Zombies 3, since her actress Kylie Russell was pregnant at the time. The story was basic with 2 tribes going against each other, but the stakes were higher than it seemed, and I was interested enough to see how it would play out, and I liked all the new characters that were introduced too. Also, fun fact, the actress who plays Nova, Freya Skye, this is actually her movie debut, and I think she did a really good job. She's a recent rising singer with a couple of original songs. I recommend you listen to them on Spotify. Speaking of songs, they are easily my favorite part of the movie. There's something about the Zombies soundtrack that always has me listening to it over and over again, and Zombies 4 is no exception. Unlike the songs in Moana 2, which I barely heard again after watching the movie, I'm still listening to the songs from Zombies 4 on repeat. I think it's the catchy beat and the way the singers spit out the lyrics is what I like about the songs the most. My favorite song in the movie is probably The Place to Be. It's just so energetic and exciting at the same time, and I love how the bridge and break shift the song into more heartfelt and mellow. It's really cool. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires. I know these movies aren't everyone's cup of tea, but for me, they're an enjoyable guilty pleasure that I'll always go back to every couple of years. And I hope that when Zombies 5 ever comes, it'll be just as good with another banger soundtrack. I mean, I'm assuming a 5th movie is coming since Zombies 4 ended in a cliffhanger, but I guess we'll wait and see if that ever happens. While Descendants and Zombies have made their mark and are well known across Disney Channel, I think I can speak for a lot of viewers when I say there will never be a group of Disney Channel original movies more iconic than the High School Musical trilogy. At least, the first 2 movies are DCOMs while Senior Year was released in theaters. But hey, it made $252 million at the box office with only a budget of $30 million, so it was definitely worth it. Anyways, although these movies have been around as long as I have, the first movie came out 2 months before I was born, it wasn't until the summer where I finally sat down and fully watched all 3 movies. I'd only partially seen them and barely remember the songs, so getting to watch them all got me this weird feeling of excitement. I'm not the biggest musical fan, but like, with a movie called High School Musical with musical in the title, it just has to be good for anyone to enjoy, and it was. Even though I wasn't that popular in high school, I can definitely relate to how these movies portray what it's like. The vibes of picking what you want to do, making the most of summer vacation, and being uncertain of what's in store for the future, all while being with the friends you've known for a while were so relatable. That's thanks to a fun cast of likable characters and great actors, whom it's hard to believe everyone in these movies are 20 years older than they were back then. Time really flies, huh? However, when talking about High School Musical, you pretty much have to talk about the songs. Every song in these movies feels memorable in some way, which is thanks to not only the talented songwriters and vocalists, but also incredible director and choreographer Kenny Ortega. But that's enough for the history and talking about the films as a collective though. What did I think about each of them individually and how would I rank them? They're about the same in quality in my book, so I had no problem grouping them together in this ranking, and I had my thoughts on each movie for a long time. Starting with 10, the weakest one in my opinion is High School Musical 2. This seems to be considered the best one from what I've heard, but there was something about it that I didn't like. I think maybe it was Troy being more unlikable here, plus the resolution being more rushed than it seemed. Regardless, the film makes up for it by easily having my favorite soundtrack of the three. I find myself listening to the songs in this movie way more than the other two, so that definitely makes this film worth watching. Next at number 9 we have the first High School Musical. The OG has still aged incredibly well 20 years later, and was an excellent way to begin the trilogy. My main complaint was the falling act feeling a bit forced, but otherwise it's a classic movie with great songs and iconic characters. And the best one at number 8 for me easily is High School Musical 3 Senior Year. Besides the amount of money this movie made at the box office, not only was this a great way to end this iconic trilogy, but the musical numbers were very flashy and on point. Plus, this movie's message really spoke to me, especially since I was watching it near the end of the summer. I was actually thinking about ranking this movie higher, but all these movies are about the same quality in my book, so I opted to leave it right here. Overall, this is a very beloved trilogy that I think can be best described as peak 2000s. I actually am thinking about making videos where I rank the songs for each movie, so if I ever get the chance, maybe I'll get to it sometime this year. With that said, now we're on to the A tiers, for the movies I thought were really good and definitely enjoyed watching. Let's see what they are. If there's one thing you guys ought to know about me, it's that I don't know a dang thing about Marvel. Yeah, I've known about the MCU my whole life, but for some reason, I never felt the awe to watch any of the movies. And I don't know if it has anything to do with my past feelings about live-action media. I actually did see Avengers Infinity War at a friend's birthday party 8 years ago without having seen a single Marvel movie, so maybe my young impressions on that film also affected how I feel about Marvel movies or live-action media in general. Regardless, as I've said, I want to expand my horizons with all types of media, which superhero movies feel like a must, and what better way than to watch the Fantastic Four First Steps in theaters. I was going in with a clean slate, as I never actually heard of these Marvel heroes until recently, so after watching the film, what did I think? Well, I thought it was amazing. Between the high-stakes story, great acting, incredible CG, and more, what was not to like? All the reviews I saw on IMDb made the film seem like it was just okay, and maybe if I was an actual Marvel enthusiast I would understand, but this is only the second Marvel film I saw, so it's hard for me to compare it to what is considered the best Marvel movies. Back to this film though, my favorite character is definitely Johnny. Not only is he really funny, but I love how surprisingly genius he was when he figured the origins of the, let's just call her Metal Lady, and was able to drive her away from Earth, and the way it paid off during the climax was awesome too. Speaking of the climax, the epic final battle against Galactus was intense. I was on the edge of my seat watching and hoping that the gigantic evil titan would be sent away, and it all paid off in the end. So much emotion that I'm sure can get to anyone. I guess if there's one thing in the movie that bothered me, it would be the decision of Invisible Woman going into space while being pregnant. Like, I get humanity is on the line and it's what a hero is supposed to do or something, but like, with the idea of a pregnant woman going into space, you just know something is gonna go wrong. I don't know if this is a me problem, but I felt like it was worth pointing out. Still, for my first Marvel movie that wasn't some gigantic crossover, I pleasantly enjoyed it. Again, there's a chance that when I do watch other Marvel movies, my opinions on this one may change, but for now, I still greatly enjoyed it and I'm glad to have it as my favorite live-action movie this year. Also, shout out to that one guy in the movie theater who shouted, "I heard this movie is gonna be fantastic," before the movie started playing. That immediately got a chuckle out of me before the movie began. Back to animation, we have the last set of movies on this ranking, which are two absolutely classic films, Shrek and its sequel, Shrek 2. Yes, despite being someone who loves watching and prefers animation, I've never once fully seen any of the Shrek movies. Luckily, with Shrek 5 being delayed until 2027, that gives me plenty of time to get all caught up with the SCU, the Shrek Cinematic Universe. I just made that up. Starting with the first movie, I knew I was gonna like it from the start thanks to the iconic opening with All Star by Smash Mouth playing. It doesn't feel like the most fitting song, but it just works. And the same goes for Bad Reputation playing when Shrek is beating up all those knights. And despite being 25 years old, the animation has still aged pretty well with the character designs looking really good at the time. Speaking of the characters, this franchise certainly has a very iconic cast in animation. You got the titular ogre himself and his best friend Donkey, plus Princess Fiona, who made for quite the iconic trio. Lord Farquaad was an alright villain, and the many one-off characters were memorable too. But I think what really makes this cast stand out is an all-star voice cast with many actors I could spend a while talking about. But when talking about Shrek, you absolutely cannot go without talking about this movie's message of accepting yourself. It makes total sense for Shrek himself to constantly shun himself for being an ugly ogre, but during the climax when Fiona tells him that she loves him for who he is, it allows Shrek to accept himself for who he is, and it was just a great ending. As for the comedy, I can't think of or remember too many funny moments from the movie, nor was I entertained as much as I was hoping, but again, this film came out a few years before I was born, so I shouldn't be surprised. Still, I'm sure this movie has at least one moment that can make anyone laugh. Plus, the number of memes this movie, and the entire franchise, created by people on the internet is surmountable. It's probably the main reason so many people know about Shrek, and for good reason, I think. So yeah, the first movie was really good. However, I was more optimistic going into Shrek 2. I kept hearing that this is one of the best sequels of all time, and also one of the best DreamWorks movies. So did it live up to the hype for me? Well, I do think it is at least a bit better than the first movie, and like any good sequel should, it did a great job at expanding the Shrek universe. The new characters introduced are also great, with Puss in Boots being the obvious highlight. Fairy Godmother wasn't that memorable of an antagonist for me, but the I Need a Hero segment was iconic. This franchise is just excellent at using licensed music. And like the first movie, this film's message of accepting others was really strong. I think the morals are my favorite part of the Shrek movies, well, besides the comedy and memes. It seems like the main reason I didn't like this film as much as I hoped was just lack of entertainment. I honestly don't know if I set my expectations too high, or just can't remember most of the scenes from the movie, even though I saw it 2 months ago. It could just be that Shrek movies aren't my type of entertainment, if that makes any sense. Still, these movies have strong messages, a memorable cast, and plenty of comedy and internet memes to boot. I may not be the biggest fan of the Shrek franchise for reasons I'm having trouble explaining, but they're still iconic films that I think everyone should give at least one watch. So yeah, I have no problems putting the original Shrek at number 6 and Shrek 2 at number 5. And hopefully when I watch the remaining movies, except for Shrek the Third, which I heard was bad, I'll have an even bigger appreciation for this iconic franchise. Just outside of the top 3, we have a more recent DreamWorks film that gained tons of praise back when it came out, The Wild Robot. With how much positive reception it got upon its release, this movie was definitely on my to-watch list. I didn't see it in theaters because I was busy with a lot of things at the time, plus I wasn't that interested in it, but luckily I was able to see it on Netflix a while ago. Getting my only gripe with this movie out of the way, once again, I wasn't as entertained by it as I would have liked. I'm sorry I keep saying that as an excuse for why I wasn't a big fan of a movie. It's not even a general criticism, just a personal problem of mine and what I consider to be entertaining enough. I mean, we all have our own different opinions and views on what could be considered entertaining. Plus, it could also be the fact I haven't seen most of these movies in at least a few months is why I'm struggling to come up with things to say. Man, I really should have taken way more notes. Back to The Wild Robot though, the lack of entertainment honestly makes sense given the movie's basic and more down-to-earth premise. And I'm pretty sure most of my lack of entertainment came from the beginning, which I think took a bit too long. Still, that's pretty much the only main issue I have with this film, and it's really not a big one at all. This movie is absolutely amazing. Starting with the animation, it was absolutely breathtaking. The amazing use of watercolor-like visuals made it look like I was watching a moving painting. From the many colors to the incredible lighting, it was all beautiful to look at. The cast, while on the smaller side, was surprisingly memorable. You of course got Roz, the titular wild robot who becomes attached to raising wildlife and understanding the wonder of parenthood, and Brightbill, who grows to appreciate Roz as a parent who helps him learn to fly. My favorite character is definitely Fink the Fox, not only because he's funny, but I love how he warms up to Roz and Brightbill over the course of the film. Although, I think I always kept mispronouncing his name with another word that rhymes, just my silly inability to mishear repeated words. The film only gets better as it goes on. Not only do you have Roz teaching Brightbill how to fly, as I said before, but you also have the falling act where the main characters separate, and the climax where Roz and all the animals work together to save the forest. It's just a very emotional film that's absolutely worth watching. While it may not be the most exciting due to the slow pacing at the start, The Wild Robot is still a movie I think everyone should give at least one watch, and it's definitely one of the best movies I've seen this year. However, it's not my favorite DreamWorks film, as it was just barely outranked by The Bad Guys 2. Like I said earlier when talking about Shrek 2, DreamWorks knows how to make good sequels that either expand the world of the film's universe or continue the story, and this movie is no exception. I recently rewatched the first film as well, and can say with confidence that the sequel is superior. Even after watching the film in theaters, I'm still replaying some of my favorite clips from the movie. That's how you know I enjoyed it. Getting my favorite positive with the movie out of the way, this film was just really funny. There were so many moments all throughout the film that got me laughing. From when the bad guys attack Snake when thinking he was doing all the robberies, to the entire wedding scene, to the ending with the fake death, I'm sure this movie has at least one moment that can make anyone laugh. As for the heists, they were all super entertaining and way more clever and fun to watch than the first movie. And the fact the climax happens in space inside a rocket with a magnet that attracts all the world's gold is insane. The animation was once again supreme with the cool visuals and animation effects, plus extra details like the lighting and cartoon effects made it even better. All the characters, both returning from the first movie and the new ones, were all super great. The bad guys themselves continue their characters from the first movie when trying to be good, plus they're all still charming and memorable in their own way. And the same is said for this movie's new villains, the Bad Girls. The other characters, including Diane, Commissioner Luggins, Professor Marmalade, and everyone were all still fun to watch. And like with Shrek, this entire cast gets way better by having another very iconic voice cast. Besides that, the pacing was really good in my opinion. No scene went on for too long and got boring, and it felt like there was just enough time for each moment in the film to happen. And each scene usually had at least a little bit of action going on, so there was never a moment throughout the film I was bored. Plus, the soundtrack for the movie was also incredible to listen to. Once again, DreamWorks is really good at putting music in their movies. Honestly, I said so many more good things about this movie than I thought I did. I guess I enjoy watching heist movies more than I thought. Maybe I'm overpraising it too much, but hey, it was really funny. And this movie has a post-credit scene, so hopefully that means a third movie will come in the future. This is probably the most underrated movie of 2025, so I hope it will eventually get the attention and praise it deserves. Overall, The Bad Guys 2 is simply an amazing sequel that's just very fun to watch. However, it's not my favorite furry-focused film, try saying that 5 times fast, that I watched this year, as The Bad Guys 2 was just barely outranked by Zootopia 2. I can't believe it, you guys, but Walt Disney Animation Studios not only gave us another actually good movie this decade since Encanto, but also gave us a sequel that's on par with its predecessor. In fact, I actually rewatched the first Zootopia movie the day before I saw the sequel in theaters, and I think I opted to say the latter is better, which is crazy. Anyways, it's kind of surprising it took this long for a sequel to happen. I mean, the original Zootopia introduced a whole big world with a huge, memorable cast of characters, so there was so much potential for more to happen. We did get that Zootopia Plus series on Disney Plus, and those were a bit fun to watch, but they all take place during the main film, so it wasn't that exciting. Regardless though, we finally got the sequel, and boy was it worth the wait. Getting my biggest criticism out of the way, I think it takes way too long for Judy to realize her mistakes and reckless nature of putting her and Nick in danger. Like, Judy keeps making these really dangerous decisions and just keeps ignoring Nick, and thus she became the irrational one of the two when normally it would be the fox. I guess they also could have fleshed out more characters, namely Gary Desnake, but still, there weren't many problems I had with this film. Plus, this movie makes up for my biggest problem with it by giving us a darn good apology scene. No joke, the scene during the climax where Nick and Judy reconcile is one of the best apology scenes I've ever seen in media. The emotions were done to perfection, and I was just in awe watching it. Definitely the highlight of the movie, as well as Nick and Judy's extremely fun dynamic with each other. Besides that, this movie did everything else great too. The animation was once again amazing. Every character, both old from the first movie and new to this one, were so charming and fun to watch. There were several funny moments throughout the entire film, and more. And like any good sequel, the story was greatly continued from the first movie, and the world building was further expanded in a fantastic and believable way. But another awesome thing this movie managed to accomplish, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is that Disney managed to give us good villains again. They somehow gave us a straight up evil and ruthless villain from the get-go, the ancestor of said villain who freaking murders an innocent maid to steal very important permits and dies in vain with no regrets, and a twist villain that actually works and isn't given some lazy or quick redemption. They may not be top tier Disney villains, but after the embarrassment that was King Magnifico, and several movies where the main antagonist was generational trauma, family issues, or just not having a villain at all, the antagonists in Zootopia 2 were just a big breath of fresh air, and I couldn't be happier. There are even more things I have yet to mention, like the references to other movies and pop culture, another memorable voice cast of returning and new actors, and even the soundtrack too. Unlike with Moana 2, the sequel to Zootopia did not disappoint me at all, and I genuinely prefer it over the first movie. Overall, Zootopia 2 was simply an amazing sequel, and hopefully it's a sign that Disney will work harder and do better with their animated movies going forward. I mean, it's literally Hollywood's highest grossing animated film of all time, and I think it rightfully deserves that title. However, despite all of this, there's one more movie I watched this year that I think is even better, and is the only one on this ranking to reach the S tier. Let's see what it is. And the movie that has the grand honor of being my favorite of 2025 is... Yeah, not even a surprise. I'm gonna be totally frank, the moment I saw K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix back in June, I knew it was going to be my favorite movie of 2025. The craziest part though is how I never even heard of this movie upon its release. I only first heard about it thanks to a community post made by Velasquibum. He's a YouTuber well known for making video updates on cartoons, animated movies, and video games. After hearing about the movie and learning it was made by Sony Pictures Animation, who is responsible for the universally beloved Spider-Verse duology soon-to-be trilogy, I knew it was going to be a wild ride. I mean, the movie is about a K-pop girl group who hunt demons. That's the kind of unique premise for a movie you'd think no one would come up with. And yet, it was brought to life by an incredibly talented staff, and there is so much that makes this movie phenomenal. Starting with the animation, this is definitely the best looking movie on the ranking in my opinion. There's just something about the way Sony blends 2D and 3D animation that makes their movies feel so alive. The character designs are both so charming and realistic at the same time, and the fun things the animators do with their facial expressions only make it better. That's not even mentioning the backgrounds and lighting and more, but we'd be here for a while if I went over everything. As for the story, once again, the premise of a K-pop girl group who hunt demons is so original and unique. I was very invested in learning about the history of the hunters and how the demons are portrayed. Maybe the pacing was a little too quick. I heard a debunked rumor that this movie was supposed to be 3 whole hours long, but for what they told in the story, it's impressive that they were able to fit all this in about an hour and a half. Oh, and how could I forget the characters? Easily my favorite cast in all the movies I watched. Every character, whether they're major or minor, is very memorable. Starting with Rumi, she is a greatly written protagonist, and her struggle with hiding her demon patterns makes her both sympathizable and complex, which in turn is so good for the movie's story. Plus, might just be my shipper instinct, but like lots of people, I adore her chemistry with Ji-nu. It doesn't feel forced at all and was so nice to have in the movie. Also, I know I said this exact same thing in my 2025 video game ranking, but this is how you write a relationship between two characters when one or both of them start off by wanting to hurt or kill the other. On to Mira, not only do I love her sarcastic nature, but she's definitely the most quotable of the three girls. I repeat her lines all the time. My favorite member of Huntrix is definitely Zoe. What can I say? I'm a sucker for adorable, peppy, cute female cartoon characters. But like I said, every character in this movie is memorable. Ji-nu and the Saja boys, the doctor, Ji-nu's pets, and how could I forget Bobby? Seriously, we need more people like him in the real world. He's the GOAT. But of course, when talking about K-pop Demon Hunters, it is mandatory to talk about the soundtrack, easily the best part of the entire movie. Every song in this film, which includes the 7 original musical numbers and other background songs, just fit perfectly and are worth talking about individually. Like with High School Musical, I actually do want to make a video where I rank the 7 main songs, so hopefully I'll get the chance to do it this year. Yeah, there's absolutely a lot more I could and wish to say, but we'd definitely be here for a while if I did. Still, the fact this movie recently won a Golden Globe for not only Best Animated Picture, but also that Golden won Best Original Song, should show what an incredible movie this is. This film shows that even beyond 2025, there are still plenty of amazing animated movies waiting to be made, completely filled with creativity and full inspiration. So, in the end, for its fantastic animation, emotional story, memorable characters, and of course, banger soundtrack, K-pop Demon Hunters is easily my pick for the best movie I watched in 2025, and one of my new favorite movies of all time. And there you have it, all 16 new movies I watched in 2025 ranked worst to best. Like with the games, it was fun to reflect on all the great films I watched this year, and the fact that I'm still replaying some of my favorite moments from these movies just shows how much I enjoyed them. I know I could have been more detailed on all these movies, and I probably did skip over some important details, but honestly, I'm just glad I was able to make this video shorter than my previous 2 commentary videos thanks to the significantly less word count, so I think that's good enough for me. Anyways, with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed at least a part of it or any of the movies I talked about, then please consider subscribing to the channel. Like I said way back in the intro, I promise with your support, I'll work really hard on future commentary videos and find ways to greatly improve the quality. That way, I can bring you guys several hours of YouTube entertainment for you to enjoy. So I would greatly appreciate the support. If not, I'd still appreciate a like and a comment. As for next year, just like with the games, I plan on making the same type of ranking video for every new movie I watch in 2026. Depending on the number of movies though will affect how I structure the video though. Either I'll watch around the same number of movies and use this exact same type of structure, or I'll end up watching dozens of new movies and do sort of a rapid fire ranking. If you don't know what I mean by that, well, let's just hope I do end up watching several new movies this year. Plus, to make sure I have more clear things to say about each movie, I'll be sure to take notes on the main things I liked and didn't like about each movie after I'm done watching. It's kinda weird how the only movie I did that for this year was my least favorite one. And of course, I'll be sure to continue expanding my horizons with all types of movies, whether they be animated or live action. I've already seen at least 3 new movies this year that I enjoyed, so I'll be sure to keep it up in the months going forward. Now, if you guys shall excuse me, I must begin work on my next ranking video where I rank every new TV show and TV show season I watched in 2025. Once I'm done with that, I can spend the rest of the year working on whatever commentary video I wish to work on next. And boy, am I excited for that. So once again everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys at my next year movie ranking where the Super Mario Galaxy movie will hopefully take the #1 spot.